No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my life, I've had the privilege of attending a Super Bowl, an American League Championship Series, a number of high-level golf tournaments. What we just witnessed, by far, is the greatest sporting event that I've ever seen. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is where the Winnipeg Jets are going on the heels of quite possibly the greatest game in franchise history.
Oh, yeah.
I would say the greatest home game for certain. They previously won a Game 7 in Nashville, of course. So maybe you have an argument about that took them to the conference finals. But in terms of sheer drama, in terms of sheer grit and determination and never say die attitude, that was the greatest performance from a hockey team that we've seen at the NHL level here in Winnipeg.
I'm pretty sure.
Fleury, sorry, Dave. Hayden Fleury played 33 minutes of tonight's hockey game
and looked really good. Like he really did. Like, that was the kind of the commentary here in the press box. I was just like, I kept watching him. I was like, Hayden Fleury looks really good. Why has he not been playing more? Honestly, he looked really good. He looked really confident with the puck. I mean, Neil Pionk deserves a hero's. Let's just put this into perspective. Jets do not have Mark Scheifele. Okay, fine. You got to have next man up mentality. Oh, wait a second. You've lost Josh Morrissey 8 minutes into the game, and he ain't coming back.
There is that. So
now you lost your best forward and you've lost your best defenseman. Okay, and your top goaltender is not playing like himself yet.
Yeah,
we'll get into what he was able to do and how he was able to turn things around, much like the rest of the team. But Drew, that was one of the most, and I couldn't help but be very.
Look who's in the chat. Our old friend Allie K is in the chat. We haven't seen Allie in years since the Jets returned to Winnipeg.
She came to the very first game, in from Phoenix.
That's right. She flew in from Phoenix for the return of the Jets 2.0. That's terrific.
But so you have that sort of overhanging this, but the fact of the matter is the fact that this team had their season on the line and played the way they did, and sure, you could say their first period wasn't very good and maybe the moment was getting better than them, but what did we talk about on the pregame show 7 hours ago or 6 hours ago, Drew? What was it? What was one of the main themes? The main theme was this is going to be series defining, this is going to be career defining, this is going to be again like this is the core group had to prove to them selves, like, listen, like, you're stuck with these guys. If you are out in the first round, that's not going to be a good look. And so this Jets team, with no quit in their mind whatsoever, played probably the greatest game I've ever watched live. I don't even think I have to qualify it. I don't think there's any question. That was one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my entire life. I've seen a lot of sporting events, like you said, Drew, but that was a treat nonetheless to say. And the other thing I want to say though, quick, is to me, folks will remember the triple overtime winner against the Oilers by Kyle Connor. I think that was game 3.
Game 4, wasn't it?
Was it game 4 to win? No, I don't think so. I thought it was game 3.
Game 4 to win the series.
Well, you're usually better at remembering that than I am, but I thought
it was game 4 to win the series, to be honest.
I thought Ehlers got the winner in the series winner. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But the point is that, I should remember, since I was one of the 10 people that was in the building. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that it was so amazing to sit here. And again, I'm reserved. I'm media, I'm watching it from a different perspective, but to be able to watch 15,000 plus Winnipeg Jets fans, and there were some Blues fans as well, but Winnipeg Jets fans be in the building to see that historic game time goal with 1.7 seconds to go, to not sit down for the last 5 minutes of the third period. They didn't sit in the first overtime, and they certainly didn't sit in the second overtime. And by the way, this was in fact the third longest overtime, game 7 overtime, double overtime. Well, obviously double overtime. The 2 longest ones were in the hundreds, but this game I think ended around 96, 97 minutes of hockey. So folks in Winnipeg, folks who are watching on, and even if you weren't in the building, I know that a lot of folks got to enjoy this, and that was a treat. It was a treat to watch, and I'm sure
it was
that
a privilege
enjoyed.
to be. It was a privilege to witness that in person. I agree. I mean, anywhere you watch that, I don't care if you were at the whiteout party, if you were at home by yourself because you couldn't stand the pressure. That was. I mean, I'm a sports fanatic. I think we all know that. Most of you that are tuned in, I think, are pretty much hockey fanatics at the very least. There's no better fiction than hockey. There's no better story than sports. I don't know how you can write better fiction than watching a sporting event such as what we saw tonight. I mean, I was messaging, or our buddy Anthony Sanfilippo, who covers the Philadelphia Flyers, was messaging us on Twitter during, because the entire eyes of the sporting world were on this game.
Not just Jets, not just hockey people either, Drew. Like people in other sports as well.
Exactly, it crossed over into something more than just a hockey fan event, especially when it goes to overtime. By the way, Kyle Connor's goal was in Game 4, so I was right about that one.
Okay, see, I not credit you. I said you're usually right about that.
You did,
and I was in the building, so I should have known. But
you're right, but that's okay. It was a weird, it was a weird time going on in the world.
I was going to say it was also 2:00 in the morning when I think we finished that show, so I erased that from my memory.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I was. This game was remarkable. The Jets, and again, I saw some people online. People were already, lamenting the Jets' performance.
Oh, I know. I saw. I took some.
You took some receipts. You kept some receipts.
Oh yeah.
This team showed a mettle that I didn't know that they necessarily had. I thought when it was 2-0, I thought when it was 3-1 in particular, because they played very well in that second period. I thought that was quite possibly a back-breaking goal, given all the reasons for it to not work out for the Winnipeg Jets. No Scheifele, no Morrissey, Hellebuck struggling, Ehlers only having played 2 games, Velarde having only played 3 games. They had all the excuses and the opportunity to mail it in, and they dug deep and they showed an intestinal fortitude that really we shouldn't be surprised about, given how they played all season long, Dave.
Right.
Given the heart that they demonstrated all season long to battle back and force overtime. And frankly, even if they had lost in overtime, they proved something. In overtime, 1 shot, 1 goal, strange things happen. Extrapolate too much out of it. The fact that they were able to come back from being down 2 goals in the final, 3.5 minutes of the game, to me, the final 2 minutes of the game, never mind 3.5, sorry.
Yeah, it was a minute 55 when the Nemestikov scored. Exactly
right. So this was truly a remarkable performance by the Winnipeg Jets. And I don't know what's going to happen in the second round. And the second round is going to start Wednesday. 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday night is the home game against the Dallas Stars. And of course, the Dallas Stars, defeated the Colorado Avalanche, and they were all too happy to see the Jets be limping into the second round and this game to go to double overtime.
And let me tell you,
probably wanted the game to go to triple or quadruple overtime.
Oh, I'm sure it never end. But and let me tell you, they were limping. Nikolai Ehlers had to get back to the bench. Vlad Nemestikov took that cross check from Suter.
Yeah.
Then Cole Perfetti got knocked into. I'm actually shocked he kept playing because he did not look. He got knocked. I don't know if it was Parayko, but Sunquist. He got hit by one of the bigger guys on the Blues, and he got knocked down pretty quickly. But I mean, what a game from Cole Perfetti. Let's just talk about him for 1 second. The 2020 first rounder of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, we continue to reference him as a driver, Drew, and
I think it's now Perfetti Peg. I think it's Perfetti Peg Coltoba is what the name of the province and city now are.
That's a good one, because he is definitely well regarded in what he was able to do. Because not only did he score the first goal, which was a beauty, not only did he score what turned out to be the game tying goal, but he also had the other, what we thought was the game tying goal. And that's why I thought
that wasn't a goal.
No, I understand that. But did you not hear what I said? I said, we thought was the game time goal. And the other thing I would suggest is going to talk about that idea of I don't want to say destiny or anything like that. I don't want to be too melodramatic, but I mean, the fact that Ehlers' stick kind of, he whiffs on it and then it doesn't break. So he's still able to get a good pass across. Just incredible. I mean, it really, again, like I said, this was, I love covering hockey, as everyone here knows. And this was a privilege to cover and to bring to everyone, bring it into your rooms as best I could here on the show and give you a little flavor on social media. And of course, I'm well behind. The website isn't updated. The Instagram's kind of updated, but again, like I said, there's so much going on, and like, yeah, again, we don't cheer, Drew, but let me tell you, that was you cheer for good sporting events, and like this was one of the best sporting events I've ever seen in my entire life. So
I mean, the stories, the drama, everything about this was unbelievable. I mean, I'm not supposed to be melodramatic. I'm not supposed to be speechless, to be honest. It's really bad for me as a host
that's your bread and butter, Drew,
to be speechless. But what I saw, and I was privileged enough to be there with my wife. So my wife and I were in seats tonight. And
I saw you. I chose not to. I left you alone though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You can see right at me where I'm sitting from the press box. But just the crowd and the camaraderie that was being felt in that arena. You talked about the overtimes and how nobody sat down, and it's true. Nobody sat down whatsoever. Everybody was doing everything they could. Fans are limited in what they can do. Obviously, they don't play the game, but we talked about it today on the pregame show, probably about 6.5 hours ago at this point in time.
Sure.
We talked about that the fans can control what they can control. They can be behind their team. They can give their team a boost however they can. And full credit to the Winnipeg Jets fans tonight. That was the greatest fan base performance that I've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
The way that they willed and then stayed with the team. After you tie the game and the place is electric, and there's a letdown a little bit after when the intermission hits, when the final whistle hits.
Sure.
You didn't see the dip in the energy. The fans kept the energy at an appropriately high level. And then they kept it going all overtime. Frankly, the Jets could have won this game in overtime, first overtime, before it got anywhere near the second overtime, late in the second overtime. They were that much better than the St. Louis Blues were.
What were shots in the third were 4 shots for St. Louis and 4 shots in the first overtime, I believe.
Yeah, so the final, exactly. 15-4 and then 11-4. So
26-8 in the third period and the first overtime.
That's right. And then the second overtime was 8-5. The fans did what they can. Somebody behind me in the section, when they were down 3-1, I'll point out. When they were down 3-1, he started the chant, we're going to win 4-3. And he did it even when the Jets, when it looked like there was no hope whatsoever. And the fans kept the chant going a little bit in the section. And just an atmosphere that I won't soon forget. And I tend to be on the cynical side of things.
You are indeed cynical.
So for me and my cynicism and everything else, if this sort of overwhelmed that should tell you what we experienced tonight in downtown Winnipeg. It's the kind of game when Timo got his record. It seems like 100,000 people claim to have been at that game. You're going to have everybody in the city is going to say that they were at tonight's game as well. That's the kind of drama. That's the kind of atmosphere. That's the kind of vibe that we witnessed. What a day. From the time people woke up this morning and experienced the gorgeous weather to the time Adam Lowry's shot went into the back of the net and the Jets moved on to the second round of the playoffs. What a day here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching right now on the TV here in the press box that Kyle Connor's talking, and I mean, there's no IC mic. I'm not loving that element of things, but look, it was as impressive. Again, remember, this is a team that was a little bit fragile to start this game, right? They were tentative. And so, we watched, folks losing their mind of Connor Hellebuck. Well, he certainly proved his value in some very good chances for the St. Louis Blues in OT. But it was like I said, I just was so overblown by the fact that, I had the comment up, I think it was by Dave, and we talk about the idea that Adam Lowry had to step up. He's the captain. And I don't mean because he scored the goal. I just mean like he needed to be noticeable in this game. And again, like to me, the biggest the biggest hero of this game, I would say, is Neil Pionk, because for him to play 46 minutes in a hockey game,
he's worth the entire contract extension now.
I said that in the press box. I did jokingly say that. I said, I think he just earned his whole contract, regardless of whatever else happens. The fact that he played 46 minutes in this hockey game is ridiculous. And again, like I said, you lost Josh Morrissey, and it didn't look good, right? Like he got the first hit by Sundqvist high. I didn't like the hit. I thought it was a bit dirty. And then he went for the check, and that was on Joseph. And that one looked like it really kind of caused him some pain, because he was wincing, and he went back to the bench. So you knew he was in trouble. And so and they targeted him, right? And for Neil Pionk to step up the way he did and play as many minutes as he did, that's impressive. But again, I also want to credit Hayden Fleury, because I really thought he had an excellent hockey game. He was, I mean, we kept joking. We're like, is Hayden Fleury going to be the Joe Morrow from was that 17-18 when they beat Minnesota?
Yeah, when he scored in game one.
Yeah, the game one winner. So to me, the defensemen really stepped up their game, and they really played. I mean, like I said, they all did. I mean, DeMello had some key plays. Dylan Sandberg had some, and they had some really good kills. Pionk had a really good kill. I think it was in the first or second overtime. I think the second overtime, where he was kind of like almost last man back by himself with a couple of blues, and he managed to get the puck off the stick. And I just thought, wow, he is next level. This team right now is, and you could sense it, right? And again, you're right. One mistake, it ends up in the back of your net. There are a couple of deflections which could have gone against the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck was excellent, and this team is on to the second round. I mean, we're not going to start talking about, unlike our colleague Ezzy Ginsburg, who maybe he knew something because he was already talking about those Dallas Stars. We are going to maintain our focus. Game 7, Drew, you mentioned it. I think you were one of the first people to mention that this was the first time there was going to be a Game 7, a home Game 7 for the Winnipeg Jets. So in the 2.0, 1.0 history, of course, the NHL history. So that's historic. We're approaching. We aren't quite at our triple overtime 1,000+ numbers, but we're approaching the 1,000-person mark here on this show. So if you're enjoying this show, this is your first time, because that's a little bit more than we normally get. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel, folks.
Smash the like button is exactly right. Good evening again to everybody. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, we're here talking about the Winnipeg Jets. 4-3 double overtime victory over the St. Louis Blues. A game, I said, I don't know if I said it on the pregame show this afternoon or if I said it to some friends earlier in the day, but there's always an unsung hero who steps up in a Game 7, in an overtime. And what Neil Pionk and Dylan Sandberg did tonight is incredible. Neil Pionk, 46 minutes and 15 seconds time on ice. I mean, that's astounding. Those are numbers that you can't really fathom the energy that takes. Dylan Sandberg, 44 minutes time on ice. But to me, it is Hayden Fleury. Hayden Fleury played 33 minutes and 2 seconds. If you had told me before the game started that Hayden Fleury was going to play 3 minutes and 2 seconds, I wouldn't have been overly shocked. But for him to come into the lineup, to step up in the absence of Josh Morrissey, to step up in the absence of Logan Stanley, and have that steadying performance that he had for the Winnipeg Jets as we crack the 1,000 viewer mark here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. That to me is absolutely one of the stories of tonight's contest. Just how he and everybody else in that Jets dressing room and on that Jets bench took that next man up attitude and weren't going to wilt when they had every excuse in the books to wilt late in that third period.
You're absolutely right, Drew. And that is, we were talking about this. Is this going to be how you define your President's Cup winning season? Is by going out, I wouldn't say meekly in the first round, but to go out in this manner. And it's interesting because we did say, I remember the joke was, I said that we were talking about how none of this, what was it? It's 46 or something like that, the game, but the game 7, but no, when the home team kept winning all the games, but the games had never had an overtime. And I'm like, well, of course we'll get an overtime tonight. Of course we got a double overtime tonight. So the good news was it was a 6 o'clock start, not a 7 o'clock.
It's not
the
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. So
but by the time everybody's adrenaline wears off, it might be 3 in the morning. That's
and you know, again, like I said, like I love watching. I mean, again, nobody is a bigger Winnipeg backer than this guy, and I love seeing like the fans, you know, the elation. I saw the Sportsnet tweeted out a picture or a video story of Cole Perfetti scoring that goal, and just the fans were sitting there, like, you know, just you could just see them, the tenseness in their faces as they're pushing, and then when they score, the elation and the celebration from that fan base was. I mean, again, obviously it was insane in here. And wow, was this building loud, but just to see the folks on Donald Street and of course at True North Square, and of course every single one of you folks who, if you weren't there, were at home. And I'm sure I got messages from people saying I, you know, woke up my kids, woke up the dogs, woke up everything. So,
well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, and we'll get into the post game recap here at some point this evening.
Yeah, the internet's being a little bit taken down, so I think Colby's working furiously to get us the post game interviews. We'll see if we can get those to you. That's well.
Right. If we can't get you the post game interviews live from the Matt Frost Media Center, we'll maybe upload them to our YouTube channel and play them for you in the course of tonight's post game show. Sure. So stay with us is the point of this. We're not going anywhere. We hope you're not going anywhere. Oh, looks like we're making some progress there. Behind the scenes, backstage, we can see that the camera has started to work for Colby Spencer, great photographer and videographer who does great work, bringing you all the action. What I wanted to mention, and a lot of people,
we're gonna get Colby just messaged us, Drew. We're gonna get the players.
Okay.
The only thing we missed was Jim Montgomery, Dr. Jim Montgomery.
Yeah.
So that's okay. We'll be okay not having him, but we'll get the 2 Jets players that are going to come to the Matt Frost Media Center, and then we'll get of course Scott Arneal to talk about his first ever series win as a head coach.
What I was going to say, and I don't know if you could see it on the TV broadcast, but after they scored, you know, and I was talking earlier about the impact of the crowd. Mm-hmm. Dylan DeMello was just skating by himself after the Jets scored. He was close to where the Jets net, Connor Hellebuck, where Connor Hellebuck was playing goal. And the team was celebrating, and the team, you know, different groups. There was a group that was swarming Hellebuck, a group that was swarming Lowry, and Dylan DeMello was just pointing at the crowd, and almost it looked like he was thanking the crowd for what he had to say. Here's Scott Arneal.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It was, I've seen a lot of hockey games, been around a lot of hockey games. To be a part of that was one of the most exciting games I've been a part of. And it was thrilling. You know, we were extremely nervous to start the game, got down quickly, but just our resolve, just our ability to stay in it. Pretty much that's all I kept preaching, just hang in there. We watched it last night with Colorado and Dallas, them staying in it, and it was stay into it, keep doing what we do, and we got stronger as the game went on. We got out of that first period, and then, you know what, after that, you know, it was a battle, and, you know, to tie that game up at the end, that's you know, it was amazing, exciting. It was just I would think anybody watching that one will leave that one in their memory banks for a long time.
Monty,
it's almost tougher to draw up a worse start to an amazing Game 7 than what you guys got. So is it just a question of,
you're being Debbie Downer here. Like,
I'm not even trying to land there.
No, I know. Well, you know what? Honestly, it reminded me of the first period in Game 1. The nerves. It seemed like nobody wanted to make a play. We got rid of pucks really quickly. You know, we actually sat back. Kind of allowed them. I mean, even on the first goal, they came down, they skated 200 feet, you know, came down the ice to make that play. And it was kind of us on our heels. And that was pretty much a message. And it was the message from our leaders. It was a message for me, like, let's go here. Let's get up on our toes. Let's get in attack mode. We're no good sitting back, and that's not us. And we just did a great job of, you know, turning the tide and getting back to playing the way we can.
Yeah, I wanted to ask kind of about the message. Is it just one of those cases where as long as there's time on the clock, it's...
Yeah. There's 40 minutes to go, and we hadn't even started to go yet. The biggest thing for me is that we did a really good job of our forecheck, and we got hunting in that second period, and we created turnovers, and that first 10 minutes of that second period, that was us playing our game, and it took a while. That power play goal was huge. Obviously got the building ignited again. Not that they weren't, but it really got them into it. And once it was 2-1, it was just, man, we had some opportunities to tie that up long before we went 6-on-5. But just like the way that there was no quit. And you know what, man, I gotta shout out to our defense. Those 5 guys, the workload that they had to throw in there. They did a great job. And then obviously, you guys stepping up and having to play big roles, and it was a awesome effort by everybody.
Monty had commented on the chess match that he felt had gone back and forth between the 2 coaching staffs, and I just wanted to. I feel like we saw a lot of it throughout that series.
Oh yeah,
what was it like from your perspective?
There was a lot. You're going to make adjustments. You're going to have to do things because the opposition's maybe making some changes. You don't want to get away from your identity and a lot of the things you do, but it does happen. I think you talk to any coaches after a series is over, you have to make changes, and we had to along the way. They had to. That was as heavy a series as I've seen in a long time. Like, there was no ice that wasn't contested and no player that wasn't going to get knocked into the wall. It was, St. Louis, that was what they've done the last 3 months, and these 7 games. That was a tough out. That was a really tough out, and you know what? They made us battle for every inch, and I tip my hat to Monty, what he's done since he's got there. They without a doubt were one of the best teams in the league there since 4 Nations, and they're hard to play against. And I really not happy that they're in the Central Division, but that's our division, and I can't credit Monty enough. As we said there, we made adjustments, and then all of a sudden it was that chess match. They did something, and we had to try to find the answer to that, and that's what it was the whole series. And you know what? 2 buildings. Our building obviously was absolutely amazing. Absolutely how loud it was. It was loud in St. Louis as well, but that was one for the ages.
As a coach, seeing the evolution of Cole Perfetti as the season went on, even the year before, and then for him to be the hero there with the dying seconds left, I know it's a big goal, but just to take a second and kind of take a step back and look at how big that is for Cole, and just
he's never really had a chance to be in this, and I think that like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago there, 2 seasons he was out, didn't get to play in the heavy hockey at the second half of the year and in the playoffs, and obviously last year didn't get as much of an opportunity, but I think he was one of our best forwards in this whole series, both rinks in both buildings. He had a number of opportunities, and him scoring the other night in St. Louis was big. And he had to kind of finally went in, and now to get those 2 big ones tonight, and he had a few more chances, and that's the evolution that you want from your own players, and he's grown so much this year, and. For a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience at this time of year, I really like how he's handled this first round in a very, very heavy series.
Scott, 2-parter about your blue line. First, how impressed were you by the heavy minutes that your 5D logged after Josh went out, and secondarily to that, early assessment on first look for your number 1 defenseman?
Yeah, let's just see. Well, we wait and see till tomorrow. We got to find out after we get through all this craziness here, see where everybody's at tomorrow. We'll kind of do a roll call and check on him. Right now, it's just obviously he couldn't play the rest of the game, so we'll just kind of move forward with him and with everybody else. But like I mentioned earlier, what a yeoman's effort by our defense. Hayden Fleury having to come in and play. And he was he did a fantastic job. But everybody, all 5 of those guys, they had a different partner every shift because of the rotation, and just having to not only defend, but they had to, be a part of our offense. And, we didn't get much offense down in game 6 down there. And I thought tonight that, we had that zone time, and it centered a lot around our defense and the plays that they made. And obviously the winning goal, P getting that puck to the net front there and Lau getting a piece of it. So, when those guys have to play those heavy minutes like that, it was special. And that's guys stepping up, and that's what we needed.
So you get over those nerves. You have a pretty good second. You find your game, but then their third goal. How do you bounce back from that?
Stay in it. Stay in it. It's never over till it's over, right? I mean, it was honestly, it wasn't like we were getting outplayed, and they got the third goal. We were. You could hear it on the bench. You could hear it in the room. It was guys saying, just stay with it, keep with it. We're getting opportunities. We're getting momentum shifts, one right after the other, and we just hung in there. And obviously it went right down to the last second. But at the end of the day, those just our group to be able to hang in there, and that's what the playoffs are all about.
Josh today, Mark earlier, how much did they take out of you?
They took a lot out of us. Obviously, not having either one of those guys for most of that game is huge. And any team, any coach would tell you that when you lose those type of players. But just again, it was game 5 here when we lost Scheif, and all those centermen had to step up, and our forwards the forward group had to step up. Well, tonight it was our defensive group that stepped up, and can't speak enough about how great they were.
Scott, how would you describe the series Kyle Connor had? 2 game winners, set up the 2 others, especially with Mark being out.
Best players got to be your best players, and you know what, he had a lot of chances. Even tonight he had some looks, and that's what you need. You need those guys to go to those tough areas. I mean, he's been through this before. He's had experience in the playoffs, and those are the type of guys that you need to step up, and he did that for us in this series. Scored some huge goals for us.
Just quick, for a team that had, perceived to have a mental block when it came to the playoffs over the last couple of years, how important can a win like that go as far as kind of slaying that dragon?
Yeah, the hardest thing in the NHL is to win the first round. It really is. You build confidence as you can, but it's so hard to get through that first round. And there's a lot of doubt at times. There's obviously lots of excitement. But for our group, just for me, in the sense of being here in just the 3 years, to lose in those first rounds, those were heartbreaking. And last year, obviously with the season we had, to do it this year, we didn't want to go out. We didn't want to. That was one of the messages I sent to these guys, that bring your best game forward, and have no regrets. And that's what it was all about. And that's what I thought that. After we got through the first, that's what happened. Everybody, nobody wanted to be done. Nobody wanted to be done playing this year, and that was special. Thanks, everyone.
Scott Arniel, the Winnipeg Jets head coach, speaking about the moment and the excitement and the never say die attitude that the Winnipeg Jets demonstrated in tonight's come from behind 4-3 victory. We welcome to the program
very sunburnt Ezzy Ginsburg.
I was going to say, how are you so sunburnt? You were inside since 3:00.
Because it was plus 30 degrees in Winnipeg today, boys. I just came on here to check to see if Dave M is doing okay. That's the only reason I came to come on.
I'm exhausted.
Wow. I wasn't gonna miss this. I fell asleep putting my kids to sleep.
Oh, geez.
I let my kids watch the first overtime. I realized this is not about me, guys. I can see that we've got almost 1,300 people watching live, so this is incredible. This is just I'm going to try to contain myself here, but this is just a historic day in Winnipeg Jets history, boys. So I'm sorry that I was a little bit late, but I'm happy to join now.
Welcome to the program. The Jets players were still
welcome to the party, pal.
Yes, it is a celebratory crowd here tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on, because this is not the final post-game show of the season. We have at least 4 more to go, and at least 2 more pre-game shows. And of course, on Saturday morning, we have the Illegal Curve hockey show. So we got lots more content coming your way. We are awaiting 2 Jets players at the dais from the Matt Frost Media Center.
We want to guess who's going to speak?
Scott
Cole
Arniel
Perfetti.
for the players. I would say Perfetti.
Hayden Fleury, I think, Dave.
Maybe. Here we go.
We're about to find out.
Back to the Matt Frost Media Center.
Adam, how would you describe the rally that you witnessed this evening?
It's hard to put into words, but I think just our mantra from training camp: get better every day, focus on the process, and the results will take care of themselves. And just really proud of the guys. You get down 2-0, game 7. It kind of feels like it's an insurmountable lead 3-1 late. But, to score 2 with the goalie out and, just have life and, Fets to really bring the building to its feet, with 1.5 seconds left, it was incredible. So, a wild game, but, that's our group. There's not a lot of quit in here.
Most of the season we talked about, this 5 to 10% better, all the scar tissue you guys build up, and the extra resilience of this team. Is this game proof?
Yeah, 100%. We gave it everything we had down to the last second. Obviously missing some guys and guys stepping up and playing bigger roles, and it's, there's no quit in this team. We never had any doubt. Even down 3-1, there was no doubt. There was, we had belief in one another and belief that we were going to come back. And, it was just so proud of this group to be, so proud to be a part of it. It's, this is a special group, and tonight's a good picture of what this group is like and how there's no quit in here. And even when it's looking hard times for us, it's, we battle through, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
Cole, apparently you're a part of history now. I hear that was the latest Game 7 tying goal in Stanley Cup playoff history. What did that feel like?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's kind of what you dream of. It's playing in a Game 7, first time ever doing that. It was awesome playing in front of this crowd. It was incredible tonight, and some great plays late in that game. Vladdy gets us going, and then a lot of that starts with Gabe and Lau's down low, battling and exhausted, but battling through and winning puck battles. And then Fly makes a great play to KC. He makes a great play to me and just kind of chipped it in. And it was, again, no quit. Like, guys were exhausted, but fought till the last second, and we got it done.
And Adam, how much of a psychological hurdle or demon did you guys overcome with this series?
I think we hear about it more than we truly believe it. But it's nice to kind of have those questions put to rest. That can this team get out of the first round? The way the group played tonight, we're down Scheif, our number one center, one of our best offensive guys, such an important piece, and we lose JMO super early. We go down to 5D and look at the minutes those guys played, and different guys stepping up, like Fets to score that goal to get us back in the game, and to score the goal to keep us in the game and keep our season alive is, like Fets said, different guys stepping up, and that's what you need to have to win at this time of the year. And I'm just excited, that our group gets to continue with this opportunity. We worked really hard all year. We put in a lot of time. Have a great regular season, and such a hard-fought series. The Blues played incredible. Their stretch from the Four Nations on, just to get in the playoffs and playing as well as they did. They should be real proud of their effort, and I'm just happy the good guys were able to prevail, and we can move on, and really looking forward to the second round. It's going to be a heck of a series with the Stars.
Adam, I'm sure growing up you dreamed of scoring a game-winning goal in Game 7, but to do it for the Winnipeg Jets in front of the crowd, having been a member of the community, how do you put that moment into words? Just it seems like it really was special.
Yeah, it's incredibly special. I probably dreamt that it was a little nicer than just going off my leg, but it's one of those things on the outdoor rink in the driveway. You dream about being the hero in a Game 7, giving yourself a chance to continue chasing that Stanley Cup, and to do it in Winnipeg at home. We have such tremendous fans, such tremendous support, and just really happy that we can continue playing in front of them. They've been such a blessing for us all year. It makes it a real tough building to play in. we feed off that energy, and to feel how kind of the momentum shifted after Vladdy scores, and Fetz has his second of the game, and it almost felt like the ice tilted, and we were really able to start controlling the play, and kind of had some great chances early in overtime, and really fed off that. So just super happy, and super fortunate to get to play in front of these amazing fans.
Cole, a lot of talk about the second line center job over the course of the year. What's it like to see Vladislav Namestnikov come through in a moment like that?
Yeah, I've played with him all year. He's unbelievable. Great guy to start with. Unbelievable teammate. So much fun to play with. And, then you see tonight he gets us going with that clutch goal. Like he's so smart out there. He's so dynamic. He's got a really good brain, and it's a lot of fun to play with him. And it's special to be his teammate and have our locker room's full of those guys. Like that's what makes this group special, is how well we click and gel together. And I think that goes, why we, fight for each other so hard every shift is because of, we're brothers, and having a guy like Vladdy step into that and take on a big role. And, him and Laus, obviously losing Scheif, like him and Laus and Bears, like with Tony, everyone in the center position stepped up and was amazing. And those aren't easy shoes to fill. Scheif's one of the best players in the league, and our guys did it, and it's really impressive.
I wanted to ask one more. We know Adam as, calm-spoken, articulate here, but you guys had to dig deep in your room today. What kind of impact can he have on you guys as a captain in the room?
I think you guys can see what kind of leader he is on the ice. Like, just leads by example, does everything the right way. And, when you see a guy like that putting his body on the line, doing everything he possibly can for this team, you have no choice but to follow. He is vocal in the room, but I think the way that he leads this team is through his actions and through his play. And like I said, when he's doing that and giving everything he has every second of his shift, you have no choice but to follow him and give everything you have. So, we're lucky to have him as our leader, and we got a great leadership group. Everyone leads in their own way, and that's what makes this team special. But he's it's nice having him.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Cole.
Cole Perfetti and Adam Lowry speaking to the assembled media tonight at the Matt Frost Media Center. The Jets 4-3 victors over the St. Louis Blues. They win the series 4-3. An epic double overtime victory for the Winnipeg Jets. There's over 1,400 of you joining us live tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Love it.
If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on. There's one more thing that I want to play for you tonight. This is Adam Lowry on the TNT post-game show with Winnipeg Jets former coach, Rick Bowness. It might get a little dusty wherever you're watching this, so just be forewarned that might happen. Here's Adam Lowry and Rick Bowness from just after the game tonight.
To congratulate you.
It's Bones. Listen.
Oh, Bones.
you know what I think of you.
You'll bring a tear to my eye.
I know, man. I know. Listen, that's why you're captain. That effort and that gutsy effort from that team tonight personifies you. Your work ethic, your team commitment, your compete. Man, I couldn't be happier for you. You know I love you. You know I miss you. And I couldn't be happy for you, man. You're doing a great job. Keep it going. Good luck against Dallas. But, man, I'm very, very proud of you.
Thanks, Bones. Those words mean a lot to me. I love you. I appreciate, the relationship, the time we got to spend together, even getting to catch up at the end of March. And, glad Judy's doing well, too. So. We miss you in Winnipeg. I know you might be a little torn, two former teams, but we're going to always take you in our corner, Bones. I appreciate that. I was going to have to send a care package.
Ask these guys. They know it's Jets all the way.
He's been living and dying.
Listen, I do want to ask you, though, we know how much it means to you. We can just tell by talking to you right here. How much did tonight's win mean to the city of Winnipeg?
It's incredible. Winnipeg gets a lot of flack, but it's a great community. We have tremendous support, and it's a great organization. I've been fortunate to play my whole career here. We have an owner that cares deeply about us. We got a real tight group of guys, and unfortunately, the last couple of years we just haven't performed in the playoffs, and you get a bad rap. People don't want to come to Winnipeg or whatnot, but we have a group of guys that love coming to the rink every day, love trying to get better, and the city supports us everywhere you go. You see someone wearing Winnipeg Jets outfit. You're at the grocery store, people are congratulating you, wishing you best of luck, and just seeing the outfits, I think the atmosphere speaks for itself. They're behind this team 100%, and we're real lucky to get to play here.
And I was going to ask you, Lau's last run, how happy are you for Connor Hellebuck? He faced a lot of criticism this round. I thought he came up huge in that third period and overtimes. And just how do you feel about your guy in net?
He's unbelievable. He's the best goalie in the world in my mind. He gives us a chance to win every night, and it was unfortunate that we went into the road and we played like we did in front of him, and he's getting the flack, and there's a lot of questions about the previous year's playoff and what's going on with Helly, but it's a team effort. We need to be way better in front of him on the road. We need, even the goals we gave up early on, that's not our structure. Bones would be rolling over.
He was.
Boards,
He was.
And that's the thing is, he gets the criticism because he's the final play, but usually there's 3-4 plays before that are the reason they get those grade A's. So, I couldn't be happier for him. The way he battled, the way he stuck with it, and like you guys said, a huge third period, huge overtime, just to give us a chance to come back in the game and win it.
Adam, thank you so much.
There is Adam Lowry, Winnipeg Jets captain, tonight on the NHL on TNT, speaking to the panel after the game. And I thought that those would be well appreciated words from the Winnipeg Jets captain. I don't know how many people got to see those, but I thought that it would be worthwhile to put it there, especially the heartfelt emotion between Adam Lowry and Rick Bowness. And then, of course, what Adam Lowry had to say about the fan base and the crowd and living in Winnipeg and the tight-knit family that they have developed within the Winnipeg Jets dressing room. So I thought that would be appropriate here, as it is now Sunday night, a little bit after 11 o'clock. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. We're talking about the Winnipeg Jets 4-3 victory over the St. Louis Blues, a 4-3 series win, the overtime winner coming off of the stick, the leg, the body of the Jets captain Adam Lowry in double overtime, sending the Jets into the second round against the Dallas Stars starting on Wednesday night. Let's get into the Play Now game recap. Much to discuss tonight. So much to discuss. So let's go to it right now.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their support all season long regarding the Illegal Curve post-game show, the Illegal Curve hockey show, and all of our programming. Sign up for Play Now and get a casino welcome bonus up to $150. Pardon me. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18+. Enjoy responsibly. Not the start the Winnipeg Jets wanted. I think
this is a funny stat by Dominic Moore. I got to repeat this.
Yes, I saw it also. I meant to read this one too.
As he 2-goal comebacks in the third period to win a Game 7 in NHL history. The first 106 years in the NHL happened 3 times. The last 2 days, twice.
That's unbelievable.
It has been a wild last 24.
Before Drew, before we get into the goals here, I mean, you didn't throw to us, but I just got to say, I could kiss Adam Lowry and I could kiss Cole Perfetti right now. Yeah. That's how excited I am for those guys. That. And I'm not.
They already have a preemptive restraining order against you.
No, but I'm obviously not the only ones. I mean, that's how big this game is. Just think about the stat that Dave just said. 106 years. And we've seen these comebacks in the last 2 games. Like, the fact that Perfetti scored with 2 seconds left is just It's just incredible. But yeah, I know we got to get into the goals here, Drew. We got to get a little bit
No,
depressed before we get jubilated.
Go for it. You don't have to. We got lots of time. We're not in any rush tonight. I can assure you about that. We're not in any rush right now. It's there's that many people joining us live and enjoying everything that's going on here with the Illegal Curve post game show and this Winnipeg Jets victory.
And by the way, Drew, I'm not sure what people are more concerned about, your voice or the fact that I look like a tomato. But
I think it's the fact that you look like a tomato. My voice is understandable because I was at the game and I was enjoying myself and everything else. I think we're going to take maybe some of the people are giving us some money, which is very much appreciated, totally unnecessary. But I think we might earmark that for you to invest in some sunscreen. I think is where we're going to go with that.
Big Daddy got some sun today. I was out at the park in the morning.
My friend. It's not healthy for you.
Well, look, I didn't realize I was going to get sunburned, but look, I mean, this was a special day. I think everybody's going to remember this day, not just for the Jets winning in double overtime, but for the fact that it was 30 degrees out and it felt like it was July, not May. But anyways, let's get into the recap, Drew.
Well, before we start, Dave. Though, I will say that even though I don't know if you guys saw this, well, Drew, you would have seen it if you're watching warm up, but Gabriel Velarde, for the second straight game now, doing his homage to Mark Scheifele, staying on, being the last guy on. And Joel Hofer, the Winnipegger, continues to shoot at the net. And this time, inadvertently.
Well, sorry, Dave, he continued because he's out now.
Yes, exactly. He's now ceased to shoot at the net. He's not going to be able to do that anymore in the next round on Wednesday.
Sorry about that, Joel.
He may be an option at the Hockey for All Center if he wants to be a goaltender for the taxi squad. And by the way, what a learning experience for Braden Yager, the 2023 first rounder. He was in the press box watching the game with a bunch of the other guys from the Black Aces taxi squad, whatever we call them. And he certainly learned what Winnipeg is all about in tonight's game. And it was I just thought it was funny that Velarde is doing that in kind of just to keep Scheifele around. And obviously they were disappointed. We talked about that obviously on the pregame show. That he wouldn't be a player, but Drew, I think it was you who mentioned it, and it's worth noting. I mean, this was you said, what are the players going to try and use? I sound as exhausted as they do right now because Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti sounded absolutely exhausted. I'm sure they were getting fluids before they came out there, but to me, like you do wonder if they rallied around the idea that, look, we lost Mark Scheifele. He's not going to be able to play in this game. We kind of want to keep him going so he can get into the next round. And obviously with Josh Morrissey, we know how the defense stepped up in his absence. So there was a lot to like, and I have to, again, Drew, you were in the building, so the crowd was insane. Like the crowd was just absolutely insane. Like the start, like the singing the anthems, the chanting MVP to Connor Hellebuck. I mean, again, like I said, there's a lot of people who might want to be deleting their social media. Maybe not before we finish the first period, but after the second period and into the third and overtimes, they might want to delete some of the comments. But the point is that the crowd was showing him tons of love. Yeah. MVP. And again, you were there, so but you could just, it reverberated. I mean, you could feel it. And remember, the press box is up and above. Yeah. So we don't really get the same sound, even though it's loud. It's not nearly as deafening for us because it's projecting down, not up. And again, I could still hear how significant it was from where we were sitting.
Proudest sporting event I've ever attended, and it wasn't even close. And it was euphoric. It was electric. When they tied it up, when Perfetti tied it up, you were vibrating. People were vibrating just based on the noise and the excitement and everything about it under the sun. But before we get into the goal-by-goal recap, just a couple words about Connor Hellebuck in tonight's game. Where, after giving up the first two goals early and then the third goal, he stepped up. Yep. Stepped up big in that overtime as well, where he looked like the Connor Hellebuck of old. After giving up the third goal, after giving up the goal late in the second period, the third period, the first overtime, the second overtime, I don't know what flipped. I don't know what changed. I know the Jets obviously started playing better, no question. But it's not like St. Louis didn't have some good opportunities. Mm-hmm. And the Connor Hellebuck that we had seen at various times during the series would have let some goals in. No, I don't know that he's cured. I don't know that he's not going to revert back to a similar Connor Hellebuck when they start against Dallas on Wednesday night. I'm not saying that. But for those 2 periods, almost 3 periods, he looked like Connor Hellebuck of old and made every save he needed to make, and there were no rebounds at all. That to me was what looked different about him. He was confident for whatever reason, and the rebound control was there for the final, 2 periods and 17 minutes of tonight's game. Goalies are voodoo. We've said it. Everyone said it. That voodoo was certainly on display at the latter half of tonight's contest.
It's exactly like you said, Drew. He lets in the early goal. He was a little bit shaky early on, but he left his best for last, right? And obviously, I didn't watch the second overtime. As I mentioned, I fell asleep due to sunstroke. But I mean, in the first overtime period, I think of that save that he made on Colton Parayko. It was kind of a partial 3-on-2 for the Blues. There was a draw pass to Parayko, right? And Hellebuck made a big save. And obviously there were other saves, but that one stands out to me in the first overtime. And like you guys will probably talk about, there was probably a save or two that he made in that second overtime as well. But I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, guys, how he played in St. Louis in those 3 games and being pulled. The Jets won the series, and to Drew's point, Hellebuck gave them a chance to win the series when it mattered most in overtime, right? So again, we're going to be talking a lot about how does Hellebuck shake off some of those bad performances in round 1, but right now, like you said earlier, Drew, we've got over 1,300 people watching, and the Jets won, despite the fact that, Hellebuck didn't have necessarily his best game, especially early in the game.
Yeah, no question about it. And talking about early in the game, let's go into the goal-by-goal recap. It starts very poorly. A minute.
You already
10
played
seconds.
the play now bumper, by the way, Drew.
I know I played the play now bumper. Thank you. A minute 10 into the game. I mean, that's a terrible start for the Winnipeg Jets. It's just, again, another defensive breakdown. We've seen them, so uncharacteristic of them based on how they played all season long. And in this instance, it's just, Gabe Velarde gets walked. Dylan DeMello gets walked. Kyle Connor over pursues. Kyrou to Parayko, back to Kyrou, into the empty net. The Jets just look discombobulated. That would be the word I would use to describe them. They look tight. Scott Arniel said they look tight. They were all just running around with no structure. A minute 10 into this game, and Dave, the Blues take the early lead, the all-important, what we all thought would be the all-important early lead, 1-0 at that point in time.
Yeah, if you recall on the pregame show, I definitely mentioned that I think 70% of the time, the team that scores first.
74% to be exact.
74%. Thank you, Ezzy, for getting me that exact number. But by the way, I'm looking at Ezzy's face. I can't take it seriously. I keep looking. I'm like, what happened to the man? We literally saw him earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the burn wasn't visible at City Place when we were there for the pregame show.
No, he got it after City Place, I'm assuming.
Well,
he got it
after.
No. Okay. No, I was outside a lot today with my kids. Like we spent a lot of time outside in St. James.
Fake tonight? What's going on?
No.
You're wearing rouge. You're supposed to, ladies pinch. Ladies of the night wear rouge, Ezzy.
That's funny, but I just thought of something. Now that the Jets won this game with, they tied it up with 2 seconds left and won it in double OT, does that mean that I have to keep this up? Like, do I have to keep the sunburn up?
Is this like part of your
yeah, like, is this a good luck? Is this a good luck charm now?
You have no impact on the game.
And not only that,
Well, go to the chat. Do I stay sunburned?
No,
chat.
No,
I don't
for
think
your
I don't
health
think-
purposes, we don't want you to be
your
sunburned.
dermatologist would not like that, nor would Manitoba Health. So let's.
Am I the son of Tan Mom?
You might be the son of. Yeah, you might be the son of Tan Mom.
Anyway, so. Sorry, Drew, as he's completely derailed. He derailed me with his visual appearance. I'm going to have to kick him out of the show soon. But,
I derailed you when I pointed out the Paul Isabart jersey at City Place.
You did.
Now I'm derailing it another way.
Yes. Anyway, so, no, but that was what was I saying? I was talking about something to do with the pregame show.
Jordan Kyrou's goal.
Kyrou's goal, the Jets being discombobulated.
No, but we were just talking about how the idea, it was the 74% of the time where they first goal wins the game, ends up winning the game. And, again, it was so early that I was almost laughable that it was so early. First shot on goal too, and you're just like, okay, so they've given up the first goal. What is that going to do to this team? And I mean, really, from my perspective, as long as they didn't go down by more than 2, I thought this game was completely winnable for the most part. And so, that was not a great way, because they looked discombobulated. I don't know if that was the word you just chose to use.
The word I used.
I would agree with you, Drew. I mean, like, you're supposed to start off the right way. And that's one of the things we talked about, the attention to detail, make sure you're ready to go from puck drop. And right off the hop, I mean, it's just a bizarre sort of credit the Blues again. Like they were ready to go. They were hungry. They knew they wanted to try and take the crowd out. Credit the crowd for not being taken out of the game, but it wasn't easy because, a minute 10 into that hockey game, you're trailing 1-0.
You're absolutely right. We have to get to the second goal, but first I need to highlight this comment because this is great by RS.Matrix. Is that Ezzy or is that the dot in the Play Now logo? That is a fantastic comment. That is tremendous. That is well done. A salute to RS.Matrix for tying in both Ezzy's sunburn and our friends at Play Now in one hilarious comment. I just had to highlight that one from a little while ago tonight on the post-game show. 1-0 at that point in time for the St. Louis Blues. The Winnipeg Jets are tight. You saw it in that entirety of the first period, to be honest, how tight they were, how ineffective they were. I think as I was driving home and I was listening to Kelly Moore, I think he said the Jets had 7 shot attempts in the entirety of the first period, which I don't think you need to be an expert to know that is not enough shot attempts for the Winnipeg Jets. And then the St. Louis Blues make it 2-0. And it's a turnover in the neutral zone. Kyle Connor just mishandles the puck, overskates the puck, whatever you want to say. And Matthew Joseph comes in one-on-one on Josh Morrissey. And if Connor Hellebuyck gives up a stinker in every game, this is the stinker. Short side, Morrissey is there. Maybe it's screened a little bit. Maybe it's deflected off of Morrissey's stick. This is right before, Morrissey has to leave the game. But you can't let this goal in. It's a bad goal to let in this instance. And the Blues have a 2-0 lead, Ezzy, when the game's not even 7.5 minutes old. And you're on mute or you've turned off your mic or something like that.
Oh, there we go. Am I back?
There you go.
Yeah, I was getting excited. My little sausage fingers were getting on that mic again. Drew, drink. I'm not sure if that's alcoholic or not, but
it's not. I'm desperate, and the downstairs fridge in my house had very few options, so I went with this.
So what are you sipping on there?
It's a lemon raspberry San Pellegrino. It's not great. Not great, I'll be honest.
San Pellegrino, an aristocrat, eh?
Oh yeah, that's me. I'm a
Drew, where's your monocle?
Yeah, it's with the cleaner.
Well, I'm just glad that you got some liquid in your mouth because
my voice is a little
definitely rough. Your voice is hurting a little bit. But yeah, look, we talked about the Jordan Kyrou goal. I mean, that goal's more on the defensive breakdown, I think you guys would agree, as opposed to Hellebuyck. But yeah, this goal was obviously at the time a killer because you're already down 1-0. The Jets aren't playing particularly well. They're not getting the start that they wanted. And Matthew Joseph just scores a goal that, Connor Hellebuyck's got to have. And again, like similar to what Dave said about the Jordan Kyrou goal, a minute into the game, you're thinking to yourself, like, are you kidding me? Like, is this actually happening? Of everything we talked about during the pregame show at City Place, we're talking about, Connor Hellebuyck's got to make some saves early, right? The Jets have got to get a good lead. And not only are they down a goal, they're down 2 goals. So, this is just, again, uncharacteristic, right? And if I remember correctly, at that point in the game, seems like the first period was 9 hours ago, guys. It kind of was, but Josh Morrissey was feeling the effects, and he was not feeling. He left the game right after that, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dave?
Basically.
So yeah. I mean, luckily the Jets came back and tied up this game and won it in overtime. But certainly that was I think you'd agree, Drew, that was a nightmare scenario start for the Jets.
No question about it, Dave. Absolute disaster of a start to the game for the Winnipeg Jets. And then you see Morrissey leave and you see him go down the tunnel. We saw the hit. We saw him hunched over. I mean, you could see him right in the box. I saw him struggling to get to the bench. And looked like Eric Comrie actually helped him over the boards to get to the bench. And you saw oh boy, everyone's thinking, now you're going to try and do this, down 2 goals, down your best centerman and down your best defenseman. An uphill climb for the Winnipeg Jets, indeed, when they ultimately executed. But they had to do it 1 goal at a time. And they do it on the power play. Cole Perfetti on the power play. This is with Oscar Sundqvist in the box for slashing on Alex Iafallo. Pardon me. Comes very early into the power play. I believe 7 seconds.
Drew, have another sip of San Pellegrino.
Thank you. It's all it takes is a clean draw win. Pionk to Connor, and the tip by Cole Perfetti here is I mean, world class doesn't even do it justice. I would say stupendous.
It was art.
It is such a, I mean, I guess it has to be the overtime winner, has to be the Seagram shot of the game. But if
I was actually going to say, you could Drew, to be honest with you, you could actually give out 3 and nobody's going to come. There's nobody's
no one's going to complain if they hear that.
Including our friends at Seagram's.
And Dave, I was going to say, we're not on terrestrial radio anymore, guys. This is our own YouTube channel. We can give away 10 Seagram shot of the games if we want. We can do whatever we want. We run this channel, baby.
We're not going to, but what
more importantly, almost 1,300. We had close to 1,500 at one point, and we got 634 likes. So let's keep that thing rolling. Smash that like button, folks.
Exactly. Keep smashing that like button. But what a tip by Cole Perfetti.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an exceptional play by an unbelievably talented player, a player who is making himself money hand over fist with his performance in the latter half of the year, and a guy who is really stepping up and being a leader for this Winnipeg Jets team in the absence of a couple guys on the ice who already are leaders. Perfetti is taking on that leadership mantle, both in his performance and in the style of play where he's not afraid to drop a shoulder. He's never going to be the biggest guy. He's never going to be the strongest guy, but the way he's playing is damn effective for the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, he's going to probably be the smartest guy. And that's what when you're not the biggest and not the heaviest, that's what you do. Right. And that's what he does. And he's done it extraordinarily well throughout the course of the latter part of the season, and especially here in the playoffs. And I liked what Scott O'Neill said, right? Talking about not just here in Winnipeg, but he was a really good player also on the road. So no question about it. First of all, Kyle Connor, though, I mean, how many times have we talked about how good Kyle Connor's passing is? And this was, again, deceptive, really quick. I mean, it's funny. It was quick, but it wasn't. Like, the pass was really quick, but he kind of held the puck for a little bit. But the problem is, because his shot is so good, as Jordan Binnington has to kind of keep his eye on Kyle Connor, because you take your eye off him to kind of shoulder check on Perfetti, and that puck ends up in the back of your net because Connor shoots it there. But in this instance, just a wonderful pass. And that is I'm not going to say stupendous, because this is like the third or fourth time Drew's used that today, twice during the you tweeted it once, I think, Drew. You used it in the pregame show. Now you used it once in the postgame show.
My vocabulary is suffering.
No, it's all good, but it just means I don't want to keep repeating it. But the deflection is just spectacular, and it really was. Like, it's just it's beautiful. It really, for lack of a better term, it really was a beautiful play. And not only that, Binnington
doesn't even
move. Like, it's in the back, it's over his shoulder and in
no
the back
chance.
of the net.
Like, he had zero chance to stop that, Dave.
I mean, I'm just watching the replay again here on my second screen, and Binnington doesn't move. The puck is behind Binnington, and the crowd is celebrating, and the look on his face is, what just happened? Where did the puck go? He had no clue what was happening on that play, and it's not because he was in poor position or he was screened. It was just a tremendous skill play by Cole Perfetti down low and bringing the Jets back into this game.
And just getting away from the goal for a second, but I'd like to get back to it, because it really was one of the nicest tips I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm not joking when I say that. I'm not being hyperbolic. Cole Perfetti stepped up in a big way. And, we always talk about players that need to step up, right? And Drew asked us who needs to step up. And who did I say? I said the Lowry line. Well, who stepped up tonight? The Lowry line. Who did Dave say specifically? Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti, right? And Drew's absolutely right. I mean, Cole Perfetti's making himself a lot of money. We knew that his next contract was going to be a big one regardless, but the way he has played in the playoffs, he's arguably been the Jets' best forward, right? Like, I would probably say Kyle Connor has been the Jets' best forward, but Cole Perfetti's right behind him, right, Dave? Like, he's had that much of an impact. And I think I think you used this word, Dave. Sorry, I'm very sunburnt and very tired. So I think you used the word deceptive, right, Dave, describing that goal. And I think that's what stands out to me on the Perfetti tip, is that, you think Cole Perfetti's going to take that puck, and then maybe he stuffs it in, or maybe he goes to the bumper slot, which, if I'm not mistaken, Gabe Vilardi was in the bumper spot, right? But he kind of just turns his body ever so slightly, and just what I was thinking when that goal was scored. First of all, it was a huge goal because it got the Jets within one. But I was thinking to myself, like, how many players in the league can do that, right? Like, that's not an easy play to make, especially, like, it requires timing, it requires the proper body positioning, right? And so I don't know if that was a set play, if that's something that Connor and Perfetti have worked on specifically, but man, oh man, was that a huge goal at the time.
massive goal for the Winnipeg Jets, cuts the lead in half. And the Jets really play a much better second period, much better than the St. Louis Blues, and have opportunities to tie it up. But in the blink of an eye, late in the period, with 35 seconds to go, Nikolai Ehlers bobbles a puck, turns it over at the Blues blue line, and Radek Faksa, with an assist from Walker, beats Connor Hellebuck to give the Blues a 3-1 lead and a goal that certainly felt like a backbreaker. It certainly felt like this was going to be one that's going to be very difficult for the Winnipeg Jets to come back from. Connor Hellebuck, I saw it looks like he overplays it a bit. He's off his angle a little bit, and Faksa is able to beat him glove side as a result.
Exactly what I was thinking, Drew. Yeah, angle. Yeah,
off angle, just over pursued it a little bit, not comfortable. It's a shot from the dot. But if Connor's square to it, you have to expect that he makes that save. He gave Faksa too much of the side of the net, the glove side of the net, to shoot at, and Faksa made no mistake to make it a 3-1 lead after 40 minutes. The Jets actually take a subsequent penalty. Ehlers trips Colton Parayko seconds after this goal is scored. 5 seconds after the goal is scored, the Jets are shorthanded for the rest of the second period and to start the third period. So you're down 3-1. You're shorthanded. It's an uphill climb, to put it mildly, for the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, I thought that, sorry, Dave, I want to get you in here, right? But I thought that was a little bit of a questionable call, but let's not forget, Lowry gets high sticked. I forget who high sticked him, but you see the replay and they didn't call it. Like, again, maybe somebody in the chat will remember who high sticked Lowry. It was along the boards.
It was prison rules. It was prison rules, for the majority of this game. The Sundqvist one was just so obvious. The stick was shattered on the ice.
Yeah, that was obvious.
This one I thought was a little bit on the weaker side, and when it's a puck over glass, Dave, there's no option about it. Obviously, that comes in the overtime. But go ahead on this Faksa goal and then the subsequent play in the last couple minutes of the second period.
Well, I mean, I think the key is that the Jets PK came up huge, right? Because if it's a 4-1 game, I thought the Jets were the better team, obviously, in the third period. I just don't know that I'm not saying it's insurmountable, but it's very highly unlikely to be able to come back 3 goals in that third period. So for the Jets it's demoralizing because they played a pretty good second period, and you're thinking, okay, it's 2-1 going into the second intermission. This team can rally. They're playing well, and we'll see if they're able to kind of continue that momentum into the third. So that just goes to show you the resilience of this group, because for me, that could have, again, if we're talking about if they're fragile or weak or whatever adjective you would like to use to describe them, for them to be able to kind of overcome that, throw that off and just say, okay, well, you know what? We've still got 20 minutes to go in our season. Like, let's leave it all out there. Let's not leave anything. Like you mentioned on the show earlier today, the pregame show, Drew, no point in saving something for tomorrow. Now, luckily for the Jets, they don't even have to worry about playing till Wednesday. So they're definitely going to get some rest and recovery time. I suspect I don't know the schedule. I haven't looked at it yet, but
Wednesday, we can, hang on.
No, I'm talking about the media availability.
Oh, the media availability.
Player skating and stuff like that. So, because of course, look, we still got news to break, right? We got to find out what's going to happen. Josh Morrissey, Scott Arniel was a little cagey in his response in that regard. So that's fine. And of course we have to get, and I have to say the other player who we should mention, because even though he stayed in the game, Nikolai Ehlers probably went back to the bench 5 to 8 times, hunched over and looking like he was in pain. And
same with Vlad Nemesnikov. I mean, the Jets left it all on the ice tonight.
Yeah, but Nemesnikov, that was because Suter gave him that pretty vicious cross check into the boards.
How was that not called? Like, again, I don't want to make this about the officiating, but
prison rules.
Like Drew said, unless we're assuming it's prison rules, that was almost as dirty as his, I think it's his uncle, cross-checking Dale Hawerchuk back in the day.
Yeah. It was.
Wasn't that Gary Suter?
No. You're thinking of Jamie McCown.
Gary Suter cross-checked
Gretzky.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, guys, again, heat stroke, Dave, heat stroke.
Can somebody send medical attention to Ginsburg's house, please?
Now, credit both, and it's funny because, like I said, not funny, but like Nemesnikov, he played even though he looked like he was a little sore after that cross-check, and like I had mentioned, both Perfetti and Ehlers, within a few seconds of each other, both went to the bench, but both played their next shift. So, I mean, again, like I said, like those guys looked absolutely wiped. So it again, like I said, it does proved that idea of they left it all out there. They didn't leave anything behind. Nobody more than Neil Pionk. And again, we'll continue to laud the effort of 46 minutes and 15 seconds.
Is that what the final ice time was?
46-15 as he had 3 assists in the game. So 3-point game for him. I mean,
We've got him in the playoff pool, Drew.
I didn't even know that.
Well, the more importantly though, and actually that was the other thing. There were some really nice blocks in this game where again at the line, I think Iafallo had a really nice block. Brandon Tanev had a really nice block. So the Jets showed a lot of heart in that third period. I thought they were good in parts in the second. And again, they didn't allow that. I didn't like the way Hellebuck played that goal. Now, thankfully, we don't have to mention Connor Hellebuck's name other than making some pretty phenomenal saves. But I didn't love the way he kind of left a lot of that net open and they kind of picked that corner. So I was curious to see how the Jets were going to come out. What was that? I'd love to be a little fly on the wall, Ezzy, to hear what Scott Arniel had to say during the second intermission. But triple jazz hands, I'm not really.
Jazz hands just something that happened naturally.
Come on, guys.
It's not something you can ask for.
On the count of 3.
No,
1,
not
2.
happening. Quiet. When's your computer battery dying? I know you don't have your charger. Can it die anytime now?
I'm so glad I woke up for this.
Yeah. Less glad on this side, but that's okay. 3-1 for the Blues after 40 minutes, and the Jets kill off the rest of the Ehlers penalty, and then the third period again. I mean, what can you say about the last 2 minutes of that? About that third period?
A lot.
We got lots of time, so
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, Drew, I'm just actually preparing my thesis to present to the University of Manitoba on the last 2 minutes of tonight's
But
game.
also, before we get to the 2 minutes, though, I mean, look, Adam Lowry had a chance to make it a 3-2 game, and then Jake Neighbors gets in the way. He's got Binnington beat. And we also didn't mention when the Jets
Vlad Nemesnikov
had 2 in the first period, had the chance to not tie the game. Well, he had missed. There were 2 chances where he had the puck around Binnington. And yet I jokingly said he needs an illegal curve because his curve wasn't sufficient to get it into the back of the net. But I mean, there were chances, and it kind of felt like, are the Jets going to kind of come up short because they're getting the shots, especially in that third, but they're not finding the back of the net.
They weren't until the last 2 minutes of the game. That is funny. Vlad Nemesnikov makes it a 1-goal game with 1:56 to go, 6-on-5. Connor Hellebuck is on the bench. Vlad Nemesnikov, a fortuitous bounce, but he puts the puck towards the net, and that's the important part. Neil Pionk, Dylan Sandberg work it around until they get it down to Nemesnikov, where he's able to shoot the puck in, and the Jets do a good job. Iafallo and Adam Lowry win a puck battle and retrieve the puck, eventually working it all the way back to Nemesnikov, and he gets the good bounce. And it's a very important goal, and Captain Obvious says to cut it to 3-2, and there's less than 2 minutes to play, 1:55 on this one. Good things happen when you throw the puck at the net, and this was certainly one of those good things, but still,
with the goalie pulled, by the way. So the first,
6-on-5. Still, it's an area that's still not an area or a situation the Jets want to see themselves in, trailing with 2 minutes to go, and albeit now it's a 1-goal game.
Yeah, and guys, what sticks out to me, Drew just talked about it, but what sticks out to me is Iafallo and Lowry just doing everything they needed to do to keep that puck in and keep the play alive and tie this game up. And obviously, like Dave said, Nemesnikov had some chances earlier in the third period, and he gets a fortuitous bounce, obviously, but it's a nice little shot. And obviously, Dave, you can speak to this because you were in the building and you posted this on X/Twitter. But when the Jets scored that goal to make it a 1-goal game, it was honestly like someone coming back to life. That's what it felt like listening to it. Harna Ryan had an amazing call on Sportsnet. But yeah, Lowry and Iafallo, again, the kind of glue guys, the heart and soul grinders of this team. Just that's what stands out to me on this goal. And then obviously Vladislav Nemesnikov getting rewarded, because all of the talk about the second line center, Nemesnikov is the first line center right now, right? So he comes through big for the Jets and obviously sets the stage for, I don't know, can we call it the goal at this point?
I think you probably can. I mean, of all the goals that the Jets have scored over the years, I think this is the one that people are going to certainly remember the most because it seemed like one of the most unlikely. I mean, everything, when Ehlers fans on the shot, it seemed like that was just the end. I mean, Ehlers was, trying to do everything he could. He just, I'm just watching it. He tees it up and he just whiffs. And then Lowry has the presence of mind to whip it back to Ehlers, over to Connor, into the slot to Cole Perfetti with 2 seconds to play. 2 seconds to play. 2 seconds is a long time.
It's actually less. I think it was, Drew, on the clock, it was 1.7 or 1.6.
Then I think they officially
may have wound it back up a little bit.
1957 is the official time of the goal. They don't do the points on the score sheet. But, I mean, that came out of nowhere. When Ehlers fans on it, there's no reason to think.
I thought that was the game.
Of course,
I honestly, and I'm obviously not alone. Drew, you were there. Dave, you're still there. I mean, you're thinking to yourself like, okay, like the Jets, like this is. You thought it was that was just it, like period. I just said that, but what stands out to me, and it was mentioned on the Sportsnet panel. I think it was Elliot Friedman that mentioned it during the intermission before the first overtime. Like Lowry is just so composed after that whiff. He wins the battle. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Robert Thomas who he was battling with, and he has the composure just to, okay, Ehlers, you whiffed on it. Okay, let's get the puck back to you. And then he gets it over to Perfetti, and we know what happens after that. But that was the thing that stood out to me. Adam Lowry, I mean, biggest secondary assist of his life, Dave.
Well, how do you have the presence of mind in that situation to not just turn and fire the puck towards the net? Right. That to me is the most amazing part. Is
knowing how little time is left on.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry, Lowry didn't even get an assist. Sorry, I meant to say tertiary assist.
Yeah. Well, but I'm saying like how Lowry has the presence of mind after Ehlers whiffs on it to beat Robert Thomas to get it back to Ehlers. I mean, it's really remarkable. I mean, this is storybook kind of stuff. And I'm just looking at the replay again. Who is that for the Blues? Like, Justin Falk is a millimeter away from intercepting or deflecting the Connor pass to Perfetti. The tiniest margin away from this being a moot point and the Jets hanging their heads. That's how close it was.
That's similar to what happened with the Kings and Oilers series. If you remember, Byfield had a chance to clear the puck and he doesn't, and then the Oilers are able to tie the game, and the Jets are able to do what they did. And again, yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, it's just remarkable. I mean, Cole Perfetti in front of the net, like Cole Perfetti going to the hard areas, like Cole Perfetti putting himself into a position to be there to make that deflection. So, it's kind of funny that the Jets are the only game in town, because now I think I've got the TV on here in the press box, and it's like Jets highlights, Jets player speaking, Jets highlights. But it's
Dave. How many other people are up in the press box with you right now?
Nobody. Well, that's not true. There's writers. I find I sequester myself here at the far end, but there are definitely some writers. Our friend Jeremy Rutherford, one other fellow from St. Louis, and then of course we've got Weber and Judy and Mike and
the whole crew.
Palmer. Yeah, there's still probably about 10, 15 people.
I mean, I'm watching the replay here again with 8 seconds to go. This puck is in the corner, harmlessly in the corner behind Jordan Binnington. This wasn't like the Jets had control, had possession, and were moving it around skillfully. This was the scramblest of all scramble drills, and the Jets executed it to perfection, Perfetti-iction, if you will, with 1.6 seconds to go. Pardon that pun. That was pretty terrible. Admittedly, I acknowledge that. But, I mean, these replays are going to live in the Winnipeg sporting lore for years. This is Dave Ellett scoring in double overtime.
Yeah, good reference, Drew.
But bigger stakes. I mean, that obviously seemed like it was going to lead the Jets to an area where
promised land, yeah.
I mean, sorry, Drew. I was just going to jump in here and say it's almost like this series, with how wild it was. Like we talked about it during the pregame show at City Place, with how the Jets played at home versus how the Blues played at home. Every home team won in this. Every game was won by the home team, I should say. Right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like this series deserved an ending like this. You know what I mean? Like it couldn't have just ended, like Dave said, like or maybe it was Drew, again, Sunstroke. Radek Faksa scoring that goal late in the second period to put the Blues up 3-1. You're almost thinking like, okay, well, that goal is going to stand up as the game winner. This series couldn't have ended like this. Like, it needed the fireworks like we saw at the end. But Drew, you're absolutely right. Like, it was just a mad scramble in the corner of the Blues zone. And I was just isolating when I was looking at the replay again. I mean, I could watch this tying goal 1,000 times and never get sick of it. But
Wow.
I was just looking at Cole Perfetti, and like, he's right in there in the scrum. And he just emerges after we talk about Adam Lowry's in there as well. And Cole Perfetti just goes to like exactly where you're told by coaches to go, right in the slot. And then obviously Kyle Connor fires him the puck, and then he tips it in past Binnington. But yeah, this definitely looked like, after Ehlers whiffed on it with, like you said, Drew, 6 seconds left, It looked like it was over. But I mean, I think the hockey gods had different ideas tonight, boys.
You know, one of my guilty pleasures, and not just about hockey, just in sports in general, is when something like this, something exceptional happens. I love looking at the faces of people in the crowd when they realize what they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it here again on my second screen. I'm watching the Jets bench, and I'm watching the whiteout street party, and the jubilation that is on display is, I mean, something to behold. I mean, you know, the game, you know, obviously goes to overtime right after this. And the number of people that just looked like they were shell-shocked, if they couldn't believe what they've witnessed. Jets fans were in awe, just mouth open, jaws dropped, saying, what did we just witness? And that is truly something that only sports can really deliver in that sense.
Yep.
And we're fortunate that it happened here in Winnipeg tonight. You know, it doesn't happen that often, especially with stakes of this level. And it happened here tonight. And I do think that the emotion, the moment is so exceptional that people will remember it indelibly for many years to come, Dave.
Drew, I felt the same way sitting in the press box.
Yeah,
I
I know.
looked at Connor Rabchak and I said, Connor, what the hell did we just, like, what did I just witness? Like, seriously, like, I couldn't recall. And again, I've been to a lot of sporting events in my life, and I was sitting there going, I don't even, like, you're in shock. I'm not saying I didn't think it was a possibility. We thought we had just seen it when Cole Perfetti had kind of gotten that chance and the puck was sitting, Binnington dropped it. And then of course it hit the line, and it looked like Parayko helped make sure that it stayed out of the Blues net with under a minute to go in the game. But you're like, okay, it's possible, but like, they were relentless too, right? In that third, they were pushing for it, but
yeah, they didn't. They weren't going to say no. They, you know,
So,
if they were going to go, they weren't going to go meekly, and that says a lot. They weren't going to go meekly because they've gone meekly the last 2 years in 5 games. This team was, you know, again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to work for the next round.
Sure,
but they didn't. I think they did slay a dragon of that, you know, about the give a damn factor and
100%.
Their mental makeup. They slayed that dragon.
Again,
I would say
a lot of folks, whether they're colleagues of ours or otherwise, were definitely, I don't want to say dancing on their graves earlier in the
Dave M making a little eye contact with someone there.
Yeah, I may have stolen someone's spot, but you know, hey, got to be the early bird.
As long as it's not Kenny.
I was the early bird. Sorry, Carter, but anyways, that it's just such an impressive feat. And again, like I said, my Uncle Sammy would have said stupefied amazement based on what I just witnessed in this building. And again, like I said, like, you know, you're always happy for folks in Winnipeg. Selfishly, I'm happy because this gives me 2 more weeks of content. So yes, but I will say that, you know, the folks in Winnipeg deserved it, and they certainly got their money's worth in this hockey game.
No question about it. Here's another one. I just want to put this up on the second screen here real quick in case any of you were thinking you had to go to bed or anything along those lines. This is, let me just make it real big. This is, of course, the premier and the mayor together. And the tweet says, "We have reached joint provincial city agreement that you're all allowed to be late for work tomorrow. So there you go. If you had any concerns, just send that to your boss. You don't need to be worried about that. We have the word from the premier and the mayor of the city of Winnipeg that you're all allowed to be late for work tomorrow. So there you go. Straight from Mayor Gillingham and Premier Wab Canoe.
And some of the city employees are in this chat right now, and they're saying, "Oh, that's good. I work for the city."
That's excellent. That's terrific. Glad to hear it. We haven't even got to overtime yet. We continue to say good evening. We're almost approaching good morning as we near the 12 midnight hour. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's presented by Play Now. It's also brought to you by all of our sponsors, and a big, huge thanks to them for making this possible. Of course, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's, and the Rady JCC Sports Dinner. Support all these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Overtime, and the Jets were certainly the better of the two teams in the first overtime period. Shots on goal in that first overtime, 11-4 in the favor of the Winnipeg Jets. If it wasn't for some heroics by Jordan Binnington, the game would have been over. The Jets had that power play opportunity with Braden Shen putting the puck over the glass. And
by the way, sorry, was it just me or like you guys were in the building? I was watching at home, obviously, but it looked like Braden Shen didn't even look up like when he went to the bench. He obviously knew that was a puck over glass penalty, Dave. But like when they showed him on the broadcast, he was just looking at his skates, looking at the ground, or I should say the floor in the penalty box. So I'm not even sure he looked at the ice surface while he was in the penalty box.
Well,
but I think
you can't watch. You got 2 minutes, the longest 2 minutes of your life. You can't even look. I don't blame them. And the Blues, to their credit, did a good job killing it. The Jets had one really good opportunity. It happened right in front of me. And Jordan Binnington, I think it was off a double deflection even, made an incredible save and then gobbled up the rebound. And I said, what a save. And then the guy who was sitting in front of me looked up at me and said, what a save that was. Because I think it sort of got a little bit underappreciated just how good that save was on the Jets power play opportunity. That was the Jets' best chance. Of course, a power play that was not the usual power play for the Winnipeg Jets, given no Scheifele, no Morrissey. Hayden Fleury was anchoring, I think, the second power play unit.
Had some chances.
Jets. Yeah, look,
good for Hayden, by the way, getting that opportunity. Not the guy that you expect, right? Because in the past, when Neil Pionk's been out of the lineup, Dave, as you know, Colin Miller has quarterbacked that second unit, right? But yeah, we're obviously going to get into the goal here, but just wanted to say, like, hats off, and I'm the only one wearing a hat right now, which is surprising because Dave M's usually wearing the backwards cap.
He's in the arena.
But Jordan Binnington, like, let's give him. Drew just mentioned that save that he made on the double deflection. Like,
don't forget, by the way, the breakaway save he made on Nikolai Ehlers.
Well, yes, I thought it was over.
Partial breakaway.
I was watching with my kids here the first overtime. Like I mentioned earlier, I had to put my kids to bed for double OT, or I was potentially going to get a visit from Child and Family Services. So, but
it's fine.
I thought it was over. I thought when Ehlers had that breakaway. Yeah, it's all good. But just wanted to say, quickly here before we get into the Lowry goal, that Jordan Binnington, like, and this entire Blues
let me interrupt you for a second. This is my cousin Jeff, who's tuning in from Los Angeles, and he's right. If you remember the 1988 World Series, Kirk Gibson came off the bench against Dennis Eckersley, hit one of the most famous home runs in baseball history. He had basically one hip. He had one working hip, and Eckersley hung a slider, and Gibson hit it over the right field fence in Chavez Ravine, where the Dodgers play, and had the slowest home run trot of all time. Tommy Lasorda running on the field with his both arms in the air. A very similar sort of atmosphere and experience for everybody in attendance tonight in Winnipeg, based on I think almost more so the Perfetti goal than the Lowry winner, just because of how unexpected it came from. But that's a good, a good analogy or a good memory by my cousin Jeff joining us out of Los Angeles tonight.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right, guys? Like we said earlier, we don't know what's going to happen in the next round. Dallas is a really good team. Yeah. But right now, in this moment, who gives a shit? Right. We're talking about what happened tonight, and that was one of the most epic comebacks, not just in Jets history. That was one of the most epic comebacks in NHL history. We already talked about that, right? So, let's just enjoy this moment. And like we said, regardless, if the Jets end up, not beating the Stars next round, everybody's going to remember Jets fans, I should say, are going to remember where they were on May 4th for the Perfetti goal that tied it up and the Lowry goal that won it. And I think, like you said, Drew, your cousin Jeff makes a really good point there that, this is just, it's history. We witnessed Winnipeg Jets and just NHL history tonight. It was incredible.
It was incredible. That was the 3. It was incredible when it was 3-3. And then the first overtime was pretty incredible. And then the second overtime was incredible as well, with opportunities and just the entire place on their feet. Everybody on their feet for the entirety of everything you witnessed. And then ultimately it culminates in Adam Lowry's overtime winner, assist to Neil Pionk and Kyle Connor. The Jets move it around the blue zone, and they, you could see the Blues were gassed. And, Connor goes out from behind the net. He brings it back up to Pionk, and Pionk throws it towards the net. He finds the lane. It was so hard to find any shooting lane, particularly in this game. The blocks, the number of people sacrificing themselves. But Neil Pionk finds the shooting lane and throws it towards the net. And what did we say, on the pregame show? The team that wins the net front battle is going to win this game. And where's Adam Lowry when this puck goes in? He's in front of Jordan Binnington. Was it a fortuitous bounce? No question about it. But nonetheless, he was in the right area and he got it in behind Binnington. And I have to say, go back and watch the replay on this goal. The slap pass from Hayden Fleury down low to Kyle Connor, and the fact that Connor is able to handle it so easily and so well before he goes around the net and feeds it back to Pionk. Just tremendous skill on display by the Winnipeg Jets in this moment. And then bedlam doesn't even begin to describe the atmosphere, Dave, in the arena when this puck hits the net. Just chaos, bedlam, joy in Joyland, to quote Claude Noel.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right, Drew. It's a real nice slap pass by Hayden Fleury and great movement by Kyle Connor to get it back. And even Neil Pionk, remember, he's played 46 minutes and 15 seconds, makes a nice cutback, fires that puck on net. It gets almost like a double dunk. I almost don't even see that Lowry touches the puck. I know they've
a little bit. I agree with you. I'm looking for the tip by Lowry, and it's not obvious.
I know, but the way he reacted, I would imagine he must have gotten enough of it to get something there. But regardless of whether it ends up being Neil Pionk's goal or Adam Lowry's, I don't think anybody's going to care, because all they care about was the fact that it ended it. I agree with Devin. That was absolutely the game of his life. Phenomenal game from Neil Pionk. And his cousin earlier, Brad, was in the chat earlier. We'll see. I don't know if Brad's still in the chat.
Definitely looks like it goes more off Oscar Sundqvist.
That's what I thought. It almost looked like he hit two guys. I think it actually
looked must have gone off Sundqvist and then Lowry.
No, I actually thought it hit two Blues though. I thought the way I thought it actually hit, was it Shen
and then Sundqvist?
Oh, so you're saying it was a triple Pionk?
It was a double Pionk, and so it ends up in the back of the net. Jets fans are not going to care. All they care about is the fact that it sent this place into absolute pandemonium, and it was just crazy. And there was I think there was some skepticism that the game was actually over. Right. And it was funny because originally the refs, you kind of watch the refs and you're like, oh boy, are they reviewing for a high stick? Like, is there something that they're going to try and then, but it was just, right almost immediately to the handshake lines and a lot of just kind of disbelief, I think, from the Jets Nation, because they were sitting there going like, this team was done. We were talking about like, are there going to be exit meetings?
Stick a fork in them, right, Dave?
Yeah, they're going to be exit meetings on Tuesday, but instead we're talking about getting ready for. And by the way, I just saw the schedule. Dear God, the 8:30 starts for the first two games. Like
8:30 on Wednesday, 8:30 on Friday, which means pregame show will be at City Place at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Friday.
Very excited for those games.
Your calendar.
Very excited for those games to go to like double and triple overtime. That'll be fantastic. Sleeping here and then waking up for the Saturday morning show after game 2. But
we're all going to have sleep disorders.
Yeah.
Well, you already have one. So,
you already got your sleep in. So anyways, no, but it was unbelievable. Like I said, I do agree with you, Drew. Like it's almost like hard. By the way, did we pick the Seagram shot of the game? I don't remember.
I haven't played the bump. Let me play the bumper and then we can continue.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to Seagrams for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm sure people are celebrating with a beverage or two. Celebrate responsibly with Seagrams 83, Manitoba's #1 whiskey. Big thanks to Seagrams.
Yeah, so I mean, again, like I said, I really don't know. I think like the Perfetti goals, they're both incredible. Like it's hard to discern which would be created the most jubilation. Probably the Lowry one, but I don't know. Like honestly, because the Perfetti one, but for the Perfetti one, you don't have overtime. So yeah, and also to do it with like 1.7 seconds to go in the game. I mean, that to me is also just like the chef's kiss of just making this such a classic game. It's a game we'll be talking about for years. Let's be realistic. I mean, it is without question, I think probably, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or allow recency to infiltrate my brain, but I don't think we're going to talk about a more consequential Jets game to date. And we've covered this team now for 14 years, and I don't know that we've ever had a game. And again, like I said, I will say, when Kyle Connor defeated the Edmonton Oilers in triple overtime.
Yeah, but there was nobody in the arena.
Nobody was there. So that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that was important for, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s and you knew the Smythe division,
sure,
for the Jets to be able to sweep the Oilers, that was special. That was definitely something that was like, that earned a lot of, that was definitely
that was cathartic.
For sure. But this game, again, like I said, with the season on the line, and it would have been hard for Jets fans and the Jets players themselves to look back on this year and have the success they did as a team, the success that Connor Hellebuck had individually, Scott O'Neill had individually, even though I know those guys wouldn't attribute those awards to being individual awards. To look back and have, even if it went to Game 7, but to have lost in regulation would have been awful. Like, you lose in overtime, fine. It's understandable. It's a little more manageable, but for this team to be able to have pushed forward, we don't know what the future is going to hold. The only person who was already talking about the future was Ezra Ginsburg on the pregame show when he was asking about the Jets and Stars.
Well, it's because I knew the Jets were going to win in double overtime. That's why.
I hope you bought a 50-50 and a Lotto Max, because you'll be in the money.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're obviously going to be talking about this in the days to come. Like we mentioned earlier, Game 1 in Winnipeg of round 2 is on Wednesday, but Dallas is going to be a formidable opponent. But again, we're in the moment right now.
I'm going to do a poll. We're going to do a poll.
Dave loves the polls.
Is the poll going to be who wins round 2? Is that the poll?
No. I'm keeping it specific to this game.
Okay, Dave's going to make a poll at this point. It's already 12:05 in the morning, but Dave's in a polling sort of mood. You thought the election was over? No, Dave's bringing up more polls.
Call him Dave Ipsis Reed Manouk.
That's right. I think isn't it Angus Reed? I don't think it's Ipsis Reed, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was Ipsis Reed.
You could be right. I honestly don't know.
I worked there when I was like 22 or 23, and I didn't last very long there, a couple months, and then I got out of there.
That sounds about right, Ezzy. An unbelievable night in downtown.
Poll is live.
The poll is live. Everybody go vote on the poll. Not sure what the poll is. What's the question? Why don't you tell people what the question is?
The question was, hold on. Oh, we've already got lots of votes. Oof, people are voting. What goal is more electric? Cole Perfetti's game-tying goal or Adam Lowry's double OT winner?
Good poll. That's a good poll.
Actually, a very good question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that poll.
I think Perfetti's goal is going to end up winning.
Okay. Drew, what do you say without looking?
I think Perfetti's goal is going to end up winning as well, just because of how unexpected it was, how it came out of absolutely nowhere. But I agree with Errol here, who says, man, it's a hard question.
Yeah,
it absolutely is a hard question. I don't even know. There's no wrong answer. It's one of those questions with no wrong answer.
Both obviously.
That wasn't an option there, Snook at 20.
All of the above.
It wasn't an option. We go to break. When we come back, more on the Jets and the Blues. We look ahead briefly and go through the schedule for the Jets and the Stars. It's shortly after midnight now on Monday morning. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on, because there's a second round of playoff games ahead for the Winnipeg Jets. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on this Monday morning.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on this Monday morning, talking about the Jets' incredible come-from-behind 4-3 victory over the St. Louis Blues, a 4-3 series win for the Winnipeg Jets. I know people have been asking for the Paul Edmonds call of the game-winning goal. Here is our good friend Paul Edmonds synced up with the video. This courtesy of our friends at CJOB, and of course, this is through the Jets Twitter account. So here you go. Here's Paul Edmonds calling the game on the radio on CJOB Power 97, the game-winning goal.
For Kyle Connor, darts around. Connor back toward the line. Pionk walks the line, wrists it through traffic. He scores! Deflected in front by the captain, Adam Lowry. Jets win! Jets win! Jets win! In double overtime tonight. What a comeback. And they'll move along in the series and win it 4-3.
What I love about that goal is
Goosebumps.
the roar. Well, I mean, Paul's call is terrific as always, but the roar before he even is able to say that they score, you hear the crowd react to the fact that the puck is in the net, and then the millisecond where he then says they score. It's just, I mean, again, what an epic night, an absolutely epic night in downtown Winnipeg as the Jets move on. So here's the schedule.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Here's the schedule for round 2. Game 1 is Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Time in Winnipeg, which of course means it's at 8:50 p.m. tonight, or Wednesday night. Friday night, same time, 8:50 p.m. Then a bit of a quick turnaround, Sunday afternoon. So they play late Wednesday night, late Friday night, Sunday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Central Time in Dallas, and then Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time in Dallas, and then, if necessary, Thursday back in Winnipeg, time to be determined, Saturday and Monday. So interesting that this is the only playoff series that never has a 2-day break between games. All the other series, which of course get underway tomorrow, have a 2-day break built in, I think, between games 4 and 5. there's a 2-day break. This series does not have one. So it's
Mhm.
certain that both the teams that went the longest with the 7 gamers are going to have the shortest amount of time between games, with it going Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday,
And we'll
Saturday,
take that,
Monday,
right, Drew? I mean, for
if
us, like, I'm
necessary.
not that this is about us. I think Jets fans will like the fact that there's going to be a game every second day, right? It's kind of funny. I think, Drew, you were probably thinking this too, and Dave, right? Like, because of all the weird start times and the fact that there were 2 days between games, I believe 3 times,
Yeah.
right, in the Jets Blues series. I mean, we'll take the consistency of having a game every 2 days.
It
for
is.
sure.
It is a little bit. It is easy to schedule when it's every second night that way. You're
Although,
right
I
about that.
mean, again, the advantage for this series was that you got Nikolai Ehlers back, maybe a little more time to heal. Gabriel
Mhm.
Velarde came back. So, and we'll find out, of course, how that's going to impact Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey.
Those are the big unknowns. Those unknowns will be answered the next time. At least they'll maybe not answered, but clarified. There'll be some amount of clarity the next time the Jets meet with the media, which I'm not sure when it's going to be. We haven't seen a press schedule out, Dave, unless you know something better. So it's
I can check the chat right now.
yeah. Well, it's either going to be tomorrow or it's going to be Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a complete off day tomorrow. Certainly, the players won't be on the ice.
So
but
the team is off. So the team is off tomorrow, and they're back at it on Tuesday. So
Okay.
So tomorrow we're just gonna have plenty.
You can just bask in the victory.
Okay.
Illegalcurve.com is going
Yes.
to be your repository for anything and all things related to the Jets, the
Oh,
Stars.
Dave
the
Dave
Jets,
M. Drew is he's counting those views on the website right now. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the website is absolutely blowing up, Dave, and you're doing a tremendous job. Just a reminder, I always have to give you that you are the hardest working man in Winnipeg sports media, making sure that you provide every single bit of Jets content that there is out there. So kudos to you. But I was going to say, Drew, would you be surprised if tomorrow we see Dave at Hockey for All Center taking video of Mark Scheifele in the tracksuit?
I never thought about that, but you know, Desi, good. You make a good point. I might have to show up there just to see what's going on at that skate.
Just be hiding there. Just be sitting there for 8
I don't have to
hours
hide.
straight.
I don't have to be hide. Daniel
You don't have to
Finkel,
hide,
Daniel
that's
Fink, the Moose play-by-play voice. He'll spot me wandering around, sniffing around. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. We had it's been a busy day, of course, and 2 IC broadcasts. Honestly, I got to thank everyone for joining us and subscribing. We're gaining huge numbers right now on this channel, and of course that helps us succeed. And of course, when you smash the like button and watch the videos, we are pretty much us and the Jets are the only ones who post the videos in their entirety. We don't just clip them. So yeah, you get all the Jets videos. Morning skates, you get them at pre-practices, right, Ezzy, and you get them post-game. So we have that on our YouTube channel in addition to any and all live shows we do.
A night that will not be forgotten anytime soon. A comeback for the ages. Victory for the Winnipeg Jets. 4-3 tonight over the St. Louis Blues in double overtime. They win the series 4-3. Thanks to all of you for joining us. There were so many of you here tonight. Probably our largest viewership on this platform. I would say, the other one.
I think biggest since your grandfather clock in Kentucky, Drew.
The grandfather clock is very popular, but a huge viewership. We appreciate all of you.
Although, Drew, that one was, I think we had 1,100, but that was like 2 a.m. So that one was impressive. But again,
it's now 12:15 in the morning, though, Dave. So it's late as well.
Well, there's still 800 people watching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We love it. We love all of you for joining us. We thank you all. We thank you for smashing the like button.
Let's get that count to 1,000, folks. Come on, because remember, even if you're watching on the replay,
can you please be quiet while I do my closing?
Oh, so sorry, you haven't talked enough.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, and turn your notifications on, and tell your friends and tell your family the best place to be on Saturday mornings and after each and every Winnipeg Jets game and before every home game is here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. We'll see you again on Wednesday night. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Be safe. Celebrate safe. We'll see everybody Wednesday. The pregame show will be at 6:30 p.m. at City Place, as well as online. Jets and the Dallas Stars. The Jets have defeated the St. Louis Blues 4-3. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, for photographer and videographer Colby Spence, and for producer Tim Debenham, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Until Wednesday night, we wish you good night and good luck. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.